I tell you what, it's the toughest thing to interrupt this great celebration we have of all these people having a blast with each other. But we've got a super meeting for you today. Thank you all for being here. And let's welcome Brett Anderson. He's going to give us a little inspiration. All right.
Thank you. Let's please.
All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? It will build goodwill and better friendships. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? By a show of hands, as we seat, please be seated. How many of you are Dolly Parton fans? Now that is CommonSpirit.
Yes.
Yeah. In a world where we disagree about almost everything, Dolly transcended politics, generations, geography, and background. She grew up one of 12 children in a one-bedroom cabin in East Tennessee to become an American icon. But her greatest legacy may be that she used that success to create jobs, educate children, support medical research, and lift communities in need. Dolly once said, "I always count my blessings more than I count my money." And she spent her life putting those words into action. Rest in peace, Dolly. You reminded us that when we use what we've been given to lift others, we don't simply count our blessings, we become a blessing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We love having guests, and we've got a bunch here, and Matt's going to introduce our guests. Matt, come on up.
Good afternoon. I'd like to announce and recognize some of our guests today. So when I call your name, please stand and remain doing so until I've recognized everybody, and hold your applause until the end. First, a guest of mine today actually is Devin Marks. Devin? And a guest of Jenny Schnur, Sue Sky Kebawa. And finally, a guest of Peggy Trafton, Nathan Zamron. Nathan? Thank you.
All right. Glad to have our guests. And we've got a lot of birthdays coming up this week. How about this? Shelby Kincaid has a birthday. If you're here in the room and you want to stand up, that'd be fun. Jerry Vandermeer is going to have a birthday this week. Sherilyn, McBride is going to have a birthday. Chris Peck is going to have a birthday. Larry Cowgill, he's up here. Come on, stand up there. And Peggy is going to have a birthday. So how about that? So we're celebrating birthdays, and you know what? We've started this new thing where we encourage you to give your age to the foundation or to the Rotary Club. So we hope you'll do that. And we've raised a lot of money doing that this year. So let's keep it rolling in. It goes for great service, so that's a fun thing. We've got a lottery, and I think Bruce Daly is here. Come on up, Bruce. Let's see how the lottery's coming. How much do we have in here now?
Give the exact number here. It is 691.
691. You get half of that, right?
Yeah, you do.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Ace of club.
You want me to pull a couple of tabs out of here? All right, there's one. There's two. All right, first one right here. First one, the number is 40770. 40770. Oh, I'm sorry, 50770. They taught me how to read in school, but I've lost it all. 50770. And the second one is 50772. Geez, the same one almost. 50772. Get out of it. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. No, that's great. Whoop. No winners, but he gets the money back. All right. Good work. Thank you. Okay, and we've got some announcements today. I wanted to mention that, thank you. We've got a card going around because one of our members, Paul Stanley, has been ill and he's had some very serious surgery. They don't even have a name for a 7 bypass, but that's what he started with. But then he had a little more challenge during the week here, but he's doing well today. One of our members has been to visit him this morning and he's recovering. And so we've got a card going around and a lot of people have been expressing their concerns and their prayers for him this week. And his wife asked that we pray for him this week. So that's why we put out a note this week to people encouraging us to listen. We got to take care of our own. So that's an important thing to do. We've got the lottery. We got another announcement. We've got some committee signups in the back. And you know what? Doing Rotary is a part of taking part and stepping up and helping make things happen. We're doing so many good things. You look at all the different projects we've got on around the city, but we need everybody to help us make it happen. So Paul Tuning's at the table in the back. And if you're not on a committee, but you'd like to be involved, we'd like to have you involved. And he's got all the list of, we got like 35 committees. And we hope you'll sign up and help us out with some of those because that's what kind of keeps us rolling. So now, how many of you have been to the morning mixer? It's on a Friday morning, the end of the month. Okay. All right, quite a few people in the room. What a blast. I've been going to those. It's the end of the month. So tomorrow, Friday, August 28th, from 8 to 9:30. There's no cost to the thing. It's out in Lexington Green. There's hardly anything going on out there, so just pull up close to the building. It's right up front there. You can't miss it. It's a lot of fun. And we attract a lot of people at that they're trying to learn about Rotary. So if you'd like to join us at that, we hope you'll show up because it's worth going to. Now, you've heard about the large club conference that we're getting ready to host. It's getting closer, and Dean's going to come up here and tell us about it. It's really exciting, and it's coming together nicely. Dean, what's happening?
That morning mixer's at 46 Solutions, by the way, at the Lexington Green. And you need to look into that when you can. Switch gears, large club conference. How many know we're having a large club conference here? Rotary executive directors and the president-elect will be here from 100 and some clubs around the nation. And we're hosting them here. And we want to show a very good showing of our club. Now on that Tuesday, the 27th, 28th, and 29th is when this happens of September. So you need to mark that on your calendar. Now, many of you I've already talked to, and my main push right now is volunteers. And you can see all the volunteers I've already got listed, but we need a bunch more. Now you're going to receive a schedule on an email, just like I sent you last night, about something else, but you're going to receive this schedule and I want you to respond back to me and we'll put you in the slot that you asked for, or I'll ask you if you can do another one. And we've got the times, the schedule and everything on this so that you'll know what times you have to be committed. If there's a possibility you're going to have 2 in a row where it's just 2 hours or something, you can do 4, sign up for both of them, please. But we need you volunteer. We need everybody to participate. And you already know that the Tuesday of that is going to be a luncheon where we're invited as well as the large club conference attendees. And you need to sign up for that now so that we know how many are going to be there for that, so that you can meet all these people as well and represent us to the rest of the nation. So you'll be getting volunteer requests. If you're here and tell me, these are all the people already told me today what they want to do. And if you got something, just come see me and we'll get you on the schedule. Thank you.
We've got a lot of people involved in this, but it's going to be a blast. I'll tell you what, I've got 2 more announcements. September is going to be a busy month. In fact, the pollinator garden that we've got going, so if you haven't been out there, it is really something to see. We've really transformed this place. So on September 10th of this month, there's an evening event with friends and family, and we'll send out more about that, but we'd love to have you join us out there on that evening just to go celebrate that pollinator garden. And then the third Thursday, we don't usually meet on the third Thursday for lunch, but we have something very special that day. We have an Easter Seals field trip on the third Thursday of September. And this is a Rotary Easter Seals event. It's to celebrate that very long history. We're going to have boxed lunches with a brief presentation at their brand new facility out on Richmond Road. So we'll send you more information about that, but that could be a lot of fun if you're going to, you know, you're not doing anything that Thursday at lunch, come out and let's do that. That should be great. Now we got a great presentation today. The program, I think you're going to find it very interesting, involving our own members, and it's going to be kicked off by Larry Cowgill. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Okay, you can all say on three, oh, Larry owns a coat. He actually wore a jacket today. Or he had 15 people mention that I actually showed up with a sport coat on today. So I have the distinct pleasure of introducing a friend of mine and a fellow Rotarian, a member of this club, but also a former member of Rotary Club, a distinguished club in Chattanooga. I mentioned that I refer to Jarrett as my friend, but honestly, I only met him about a year ago. He, if you've had the opportunity to sit with him at a meeting, one of our meetings, you'll know he has just a great outgoing personality. It's infectious. He's a very optimistic guy, very friendly, and you know, it's easy to call him friend quickly. I met him when he was being introduced at the St. Joe Foundation into his current position. And that position is he's president of 3 St. Joe organizations. What we all know probably as St. Joe East has been rebranded as 2 things. The St. Joseph Medical Center, which is basically the hospital operation, and then also the St. Joe Women's Center. If you have a baby at St. Joseph, it'll be at St. Joe East, what we used to call St. Joe East. He is also president of St. Joe Mount Sterling. If there's a wonderful bio about Jarrett, pretty lengthy, and the reason it's lengthy is because he's an overachiever, to be quite honest with you. He's the kind of guy that makes the rest of us look bad. He was graduate of the United States Naval Academy, served in the United States Navy for 8 years. Thank you for your service, sir. And while he was in the United States Navy, he served in something called the Special Warfare Combat Crewman Brigade. I thought, what in the Lord's name is that? Well, I Googled it to learn a little bit more about that, and all I can say is I'm not letting him drive my boat. Okay, look it up after Rotary. Just Google it. You'll see why I'm saying this. In addition to his military achievements, he has a master's degree in finance. He and his wife, Leanne, have 2 children, an older son who's a senior in college, and a younger daughter who is a senior in high school, who happens to be the reigning Miss Teen Kentucky. So I'm thinking all that military training it's going to come in handy. He spent his post-military career has been completely in the healthcare industries. He spent 25 plus years doing what he can to unravel the mess and make it better for all of us. I don't want to jump ahead and try to steal any of his thunder, but I'm assuming part of what he's going to touch on is what I'll call the transformation from St. Joseph, which was founded in 1877 by the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. And I always say that's Nazareth, Kentucky, not the one on the other side of the pond, to what it is today. And what is it today? Well, it's a member of CommonSpirit Health, which is number 3 largest hospital chain in the United States. And it's the largest faith-based not-for-profit chain in the United States. So I've taken all his time up and left him nothing, but please give a warm Rotary welcome to our friend and fellow Rotarian, Jarrett Millsaps.
Thank you, Larry, and good afternoon. All right, good afternoon. I was joking a little bit with Larry beforehand. I always feel privileged when he's willing to associate with me, right? It's always good to have people who are willing to associate with you publicly, and Larry indeed has been a good friend, certainly a very engaged supporter of St. Joseph's and our foundation, as have many of you in this room. Before I do anything else, I hope that you will allow a little bit of personal privilege here and just taking note of what today is on the calendar for this community. I know that, I think we mentioned Jerry Vandermeer having a birthday this week. I also know that I believe he was the general manager of the Campbell House 20 years ago. And hope it's okay with you all. I think it's just appropriate that we take a moment to pause and remember what happened. I was living in Kentucky and working at a different facility at that time, and remember the emergency alerts coming across. If you remember Nextels, we all were carrying Nextels and how they were activating the state trauma system for that. So if you'll join me in just a brief moment of silence. Thank you. It's always interesting to talk about healthcare nowadays, because I'm sure that none of you have read about healthcare, heard about healthcare, have any opinions about healthcare. And the time for St. Joseph's now is one of actually pretty robust optimism. I'm going to talk about that real briefly, but I did want to leave some time for some questions at the end. I start with something that's a little bit different, and I hope that you'll just follow me for a second. The question, just take a look at this. You don't have to answer it out loud. But the question is this real or is it AI? You don't have to answer. I'm gonna let you look at it for a second. Absorb it. I'm going to come back to it, right? The answer's at the end. But is it real or is it AI? And the reason why I start with that is how we think about our challenges, how we think about the delivery of healthcare, and how we think about, quite frankly, any problem that faces us professionally or personally. How we approach that problem matters, right? For us here at CommonSpirit, it is a very, as Larry mentioned, it's a very robust organization with a national footprint. I have basically spent my entire professional existence in the two largest matrix organizations on the planet, the U.S. healthcare system and the Department of Defense. And so I have a lot of familiarity and comfort level working in the ambiguous, okay? And it is no question, there's no question that you can have exceptional benefits to having a large national resource-based organization. Last year we did over 40 billion in revenue. There are a lot of benefits that come with that, but at the end of the day, healthcare, as much as any other industry, as much as any other service, is highly, highly personal, highly, highly relational. And so while we have this national scope, certainly what we do here in the Commonwealth and how we think about things here in the Commonwealth and how we approach things here in our neighborhoods, in our school systems, in our churches, in our Sunday school classes, and our pickup lines at school, that is where healthcare really matters. I still have yet to meet anybody who chose any hospital or any system because it was a national system. There are benefits to it from our side, but at the end of the day, you choose it because of the relationship that you have or how they made you feel, right? So for here in Kentucky, 9 facilities, over 100 locations, over 275 doctors. In the last 3 months alone, we've onboarded more than 40 providers. We are actively growing. A pretty robust network of care. Most of you will know about St. Joseph Medical Center. I have to couch myself because it was St. Joe East for so long, right? But St. Joseph Medical Center, this is the first time in my career where I have a dedicated women's facility as well. And it is amazing. We had our operations review for Women's Service Line last night. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the stories involved, but just a remarkable team providing exceptional care along with our level 3 NICU for the babies who might need a little help before they go home, right? So for St. Joseph Medical Center, in partnership with St. Joe Hospital on Harrodsburg Road, working together with our other facilities across the Commonwealth in London, in Berea, in Mount Sterling, and in Bardstown, okay? It takes a while to get used to different names. I'm sensitive to that because I have only been with this organization for about 9 months, 10 months, and I remember the Kentucky One renaming. I remember this hospital being a Humana hospital, and then it went to Jewish, and then it was, you know, and so I've had several people over the last several weeks saying, oh, another name change. Well, yes and no. The reality is CommonSpirit as an organization was created back in 2019 with the merger of Catholic Health Initiatives, which everybody here probably knows CHI, which is predominantly in this area of the country, and then Dignity Health, which is largely in the western part of the United States. And they came together in 2019 to form CommonSpirit, which has biblical and spiritual roots in the scriptures in 1 Corinthians. The reason why we didn't roll the naming out at that time was there was something else that happened in 2020 that took everybody's attention. I don't know if any of y'all remember that. Some of us have scars from it, right? But the decision was made to not inject any more change or uncertainty into the dynamics at that time, which made sense. Now's the time for us to fully embrace it, fully roll it out. You will see the messaging around the community, the CommonSpirit stage at Gatton Park. We just announced a couple of weeks ago the naming rights at the ballpark. There are other things that we're going to try more and more and more to get the CommonSpirit name and brand and awareness out there. But what has not changed, and Larry mentioned 150 years, is the mission of the organization, the care that's provided by the organization, and the commitment to do things the right way. That has not changed. Okay? For St. Joseph Medical Center specifically, I want to talk about that because there's been a lot over the last 6 months that really is changing what this facility does. In addition to robust orthopedics, in addition to robust women's services, we can talk about, and I can talk about metrics all day long, but year over year basis, what does that look like? Well, we've got a 25% increase in deliveries year over year. We've had a 30% increase in surgeries year over year. The most important metric as a community member, though, that I want to share with you, and personally, I think it's probably the most important metric that any of us can look at. We all stare at pages of reports and you can analyze, right? But if I want one data point that really illustrates the health of an organization, for me, it's a vacancy rate. How many open positions do you have? If I got a line of people waiting to work somewhere, chances are the culture's pretty good. If I got a line of people waiting to work somewhere, chances are the product's pretty good. If I got a line of people waiting to work somewhere, chances are culture's good and the product's good, finances are going to be pretty good, right? Across the industry in the country for hospitals, vacancy rates as of 3 months ago was about 17%. You talk about nursing shortages, clinician shortages, those things are real. For St. Joseph Medical Center, 4.5. It's our goal to get that down even further. But we're trying to create, build, and sustain a culture that gives us things like this, okay? Somebody who gets this PowerPoint sent to him in an email, probably not going to make a lot of sense to him. But these are stories, and I want to talk about a few of them briefly, okay? Because again, it's the people. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you'd come into a hospital and the expectation was that you got better. Nowadays, it's not just that you get better, it's that you feel good about how you get better. And that is a completely different thing than what was originally started 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. The people that we have are amazing. I talked about our women's hospital. I want to talk about the lady on the bottom left. Jessica is one of our charge nurses in NICU. Not more than a couple of weeks ago, and I can sanitize it for HIPAA privacy concerns, but we had a woman and her husband drive her to the hospital in an obstetrical emergency. How it got there is a different story, but what I want to tell you is that that lady, from the moment she pulled into our parking lot to the time that the baby was out and mom and baby were healthy was 16 minutes. 16 minutes. How long does it take you to get from this room out of the garage? right? 16 minutes. We got more stories like that. The gentleman on the top left, Danny, if you've come to the hospital, he's our cashier in the cafeteria. He's also our employee of the year. Everywhere you work, everywhere you have worked, I promise you, if you paid attention, there is someone, and maybe more, there is someone who is known, all they need is, we talk about Dolly. Dolly's got one name. Every organization has got your one name people, right? Who are your one name people? Danny is one of our one name people. Danny's amazing. I won't tell you his whole life story because that's his business, but I can tell you that it has been a life that has had extraordinary challenges. And he is the happiest guy you've ever met. We talk about Danny as an example. Just because you're not a physician or just because you're not a nurse does not mean that you don't have the ability to wield impact on how people feel. And that's everyone's responsibility. On the top right, it's me and Scrubs. No, I don't do surgery. But Anthony is one of our guys in the post-op area. Anthony's been with us for 35 years. He knows more about the healthcare in this community than half the medical staff in town. How are we tapping into him? How are we supporting him? How are we making his job easier? The ladies on the bottom right in the cafeteria, we've got all this data about quality. You can go and look it up, but at the end of the day, I still submit that the three most important things for most people coming in the door is cleanliness. If your front lobby's dirty, how do I know you know how to sterilize instruments, right? Compassion, may not know it's a brand new technology, but they know if the technologist offered me a blanket because I was cold. And then food. It used to be, there wasn't a whole lot I could say for food, right? You come in on a heart diet, that broth's going to be, sorry, it is what it is. But advances in nutrition over the last several years, now, even if you come in on a heart or a diabetic or a carb sensitive diet, the options are pretty good. Did the food show up right? Did it show up on time? Did it show up hot? These are the ladies who help make our collective experience better and help the healing process further along. In the bottom center, you'll see a picture of a ribbon cutting. Again, how we serve our community. It's not just about doing big trauma, and it's not about doing really advanced clinical things. Those certainly are important, but it's about how we minister, and it is a ministry, how we minister to everyone. We cut the ribbon a couple of months ago. It's one of the things that's a passion for me on a sensory sensitive ER, sensory appropriate ER. For patients who come in who may have sensory issues, whether that's autism spectrum, Fragile X, Down syndrome, it's an amazing thing. And now we've done it long enough. This is now my fourth facility to do this. We do it long enough to where what's good for the sensory patient is good for every other patient. You think about when you go to the ER, if we can dim the lights, make it a little softer, and take all the stuff off the wall to where you're not immediately visible to it, it's still there, but we make it easier. This has been open for just a couple of months now, and we're already seeing families come back and request that space. And I say this because it shouldn't be unique to St. Joseph. This should be the community standard. This should be the national standard of care for all ERs because it's good for everybody. The last one I'll mention is at the top center. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a picture of a wedding. I've told this story in a couple of scenarios because I've been fortunate in my career in healthcare. I've been a part of 3 weddings and facilities, and this is by far the most amazing experience I think I've ever seen. We had a lady who was in the end stages of cancer, and her daughter had gotten engaged, and the wedding was supposed to be 4 months from now. I'll just say it that way. Okay. It became pretty apparent. They didn't know that mom was going to be able to make it that long. So the daughter mentioned it offhand. This is why I mention this, because it's everybody understanding that they have an important role in the dynamic that is the art of healing. Okay. The daughter mentions it to one of the case managers, who mentions it to a nurse, who had the awareness to mention it to the doctor, who in turn called me. And within 36 hours, how many of you have ever planned a wedding before? 36 hours. Tuesday afternoon, we made the call to do it. And by Thursday morning, we had a caterer, a photographer, a trellis, a florist. We brought it down into the chapel. We got permission from the diocese and their leadership because this family was not Catholic. But the right thing to do was to open up our space for spiritual healing. And they got married in our chapel. Not a dry eye in the room. The next day, they're upstairs. Everybody, it's amazing how quickly everybody just congealed around this. The next day, they're upstairs. The photographer went, and as opposed to having, the typical process of sending links and you can download proofs and all that, out of their own pocket, they sent everything to Walgreens, who did a special order and put a book together. So the next day, that next afternoon, I go back up just to thank the family for giving us the opportunity. And we let them violate rules around number of visitors, okay? There were 20 people stacked in this room, all happy, all crying with joy, all grateful. And that's what we're about. The name is one thing, but we're here for you. We're here to try to make your life better. We're here to help your children, your parents, your neighbors, everyone else do and be better. It's no doubt that healthcare is a business. I say that all the time. It is. It's a business. It's no doubt that medicine is a profession. It is. You have to practice it. But it's the art of healing that is what we're engaged in. And that's what I want to be able to communicate to you. We're engaged in that art. Art requires form. It requires repetition. It requires practice. It requires feedback. I'm not going to stand here and tell you we'll get it right 100% of the time. That won't happen. But what I do promise is that we'll commit to making sure that where we don't get it right, we learn from it and make it better the next time. We will be a learning organization. We will be a learning cultural fit for you all, your families, and your community. I'm going to finish with this and then I'll pause for a few minutes. This is the picture, okay? So how many of you think it's real? How many of you think it's AI? How many of you think that's the correct question? What? Oh, no. It didn't translate. It's upside down. If you flip, the picture's upside down. It's very much real. I took it in a pond. It's a rock. I can't flip it now. Okay? If I flip it around, it's real. But too often, we are all creatures of habit, right? It doesn't matter how many letters you got at the end of your name. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing something. I've told our team, and certainly I look at Chris's other people who have high reliability experience, right? I go back to all of in my military time, all of the bad things that you get word of, okay? And more often than not, when something bad happens, who is the first person in the chain or in the team or in the organization to get wind that something isn't quite right? Is it the person with 6 months experience or the person with 30 years? More often than not, it's the newbie. More often than not, it's the person with the least amount of experience who's closest to the point. And so what culture do you have? How are you teaching people to equip that person to be comfortable to go to the one with 30 years of experience and say, does this seem to be right? Doesn't feel right to me. And that's what we want to be for you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today and share a little bit about our story. I'll take any questions you got as long as you're willing to accept I don't know for an answer.
Don't let him off easy. Here you go.
Yes, sir.
Where do you see some of the biggest challenges in the next 1 to 3 years?
Oh, wow. I'm glad they started with an easy one. Listen, healthcare is exceptionally dependent on policy. I'm not here to give a political discussion, but you can't argue that reality. And it's going to continue to be part of the national, state, and local debate. I think how we manage our quality and our finances, those two things together as governmental organizations is going to be part of the dialogue, right? I go back to the general idea from a business standpoint. If you have a thing and you want to sell that thing or distribute that thing, you can have it good, you can have it fast, and you can have it cheap. You can have any two of the three at any given time, but you can never have all three. If it's good and it's fast, it probably won't be cheap. If it's good and it's cheap, probably won't be fast, right? So, but the policy component, and I really do mean this as a standalone, having the ability to engage in that policy discussion with our elected leaders without taking to social media keyboard warring. I don't know how I'll say that. We've got to be able to do that, because otherwise all we're doing is proverbially kicking the can down the road. Certainly a policy standpoint is going to be for Kentucky is going to be how we go about that over the next 1 to 3 years. And the midterms will have a role in that for sure. Yes, sir.
Colleges, universities, trying to act nurses when they can. What can the healthcare industry you're in do to help alleviate that shortage, or can?
We're investing all kinds of money and resources and partnerships, and quite frankly, expanding the recruitment timeline for that. I'll give you an example. Not more than, I guess it's been about 6 weeks ago. People used to laugh at me when I say this, but we start recruiting in middle school. We had a room full of 7th graders in our conference room, our conference center a few weeks ago. And for those of you who teach middle school or have taught middle school or taught Sunday school in middle schoolers, God bless you, right? I mean, holy cow, it's an amazing, but it was fascinating. A lot of those kids had never, you wouldn't get any awareness or visibility around that, right? So part of our responsibility as an organization is to make sure that we're partnering with our educational partners, not just, I'm looking at Augusta, not just on the post-secondary level, but at the secondary and pre-secondary levels to expose them to what could be, right? Because they're old enough now to be able to get that spark. And we had several. And selfishly, we look at it, you say it's a little early, don't you think? I'm like, no, because all I need is 1 or 2 of those to walk out of that room and extend the pipeline 15 years. If they end up going to nursing school or med school or PT school or any other number of things, those are the folks that are going to be taking care of me. They're going to be taking care of you all, right? So we're very aggressive and partnering with any educational institution that wants to do that with us to try and pay it forward. Yes, sir.
What's the ethos or strategic impetus or whatever the CommonSpirit uses when they acquire a facility to jack up their standard to where you want it to be?
We are the hands and feet of Christ. Pure and simple. This is a ministry. The word administration, the root of that word is Latin, ad to ministre, to minister, right? And so part of our belief, part of our impetus for how we carry that out on a go forward basis is, number one, how do we equip? Number 2, how do we communicate? Honesty is compassion in some respects, right? I take a page from our friends on the behavioral health side. If any of you have friends in psychiatry or social work, you know, the first step is to admit you got a problem. Sometimes where there's something that's not going well, you have to be able to say, this is not going well. Let's stop, reevaluate. I'm not coming at it personally. I'm not saying that you are bad, but we have a better way of doing that. Conversely, if you get into something, and I think Larry's heard me talk about this, you get to be a creature of habit. You have to periodically, and if you don't invest in it as a leader, you have to periodically put the pause on and say, are we still doing this the right way? If you don't make that part of your culture, no one else will do that, right? That falls on the leadership of the organization to say, okay, we're going to take a pause and make sure that this process is still the best way to do it, right? Somebody comes into our ERs with chest pain, there's a set protocol that somebody does to do that. Why do we do that? Because every couple of years, the American Heart Association or the American College of Cardiology comes out with yet another study that says, yes, give them aspirin. Yes, do an EKG. Yes, draw labs, get your troponin levels. Those things still work, but we're not just sitting there accepting that it's always going to be that way, because this is a dynamic of it. Yes, ma'am. Wow. How much time I got left? It's going to continue to play a role. It's already playing a role. I do want to be clear about that, because AI makes a lot of people nervous. I can speak for CommonSpirit and for St. Joseph's. We take our responsibility around AI and the use around AI extremely seriously. There are absolutely some things that AI will make our jobs easier. We talk about staffing and things that you can do largely on the administrative side, largely on the data analysis side, to free up people to do much more important things, right? We are not going to be sending care to AI. That's not it. It's always going to involve somebody at the bedside. It's always going to involve a surgeon or a physician doing the interpretation, but how we give them tools to make their jobs easier, I think it's going to be much more involved in that. And a lot of it, we're going through another electronic medical record rollout now, where AI is part of that, right? But it's designed so that we can then cull the data on the back end to help us maybe do a little predictive modeling, right? If you know anything about clinical practice, sepsis has been an area, and sepsis infections has been an area for decades now. Well, we ought to be able to take people with known symptoms, and if we take that, because I've done it in other organizations where you take people and where you have a set of data, and you know that somebody that comes in and their heart rate is this and their temperature is this and their blood pressure is this, you can correlate that to where their chances of becoming septic over time increase by a factor of what? To where it gives you, the clinicians on the other side of it, tools to maybe catch things a little earlier and get better outcomes. Yes, sir. There's a lot of opinions around that. I really can't tell you. First of all, like here locally, I have some really good friends that work at Baptist. I have some really good friends that work at UK. Those are great organizations, and we need all of them. I'm not here to tell you that we need to, it's not a mutually exclusive proposition. From our standpoint, all I can tell you is that I don't think you can really be an expert in the art of healing without addressing the holistic and the spiritual component of it. Even if you are not someone who's a person of faith, you have to be able to address that spiritual vulnerability in the moment. Yeah, listen, I tell people, okay, you don't cut me off yet, right? But people that come in orientation, right? That's not every place that you work where people will willingly walk in the door, sign a piece of paper, and get naked in front of you to let you come stick needles and cut on you. But people are doing that in our hospitals every day, all day. The spiritual component of it, the faith-based component, is one that's rooted in respect. And I don't think that you can really communicate that respect without some grounding. And that's an organizational grounding, not just individually, but organizationally.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
We have one of the best photographers in town, and he's prepared a photo for you that I think.
Oh my God.
The print. And I think you'll
Can we open it here?
Bill Strauss. Well, you know what? Why don't you? Because you got a minute, and I don't think you'll know what's inside that thing. So pull that out and show it to him. But thank you all so much for being here today. Great program. Listen, September, we're starting a new thing and we've got a great speaker. Marvin Bartlett is gonna be here next week. You know Marvin Bartlett in Lexington? Okay,
I want to get fingerprints on.
go ahead. Pull that out.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome.
Just for fun. Yeah,
Thank you.
Bill Strauss. All right, next week, September 3rd, we got Marvin Bartlett here. Bring your friends. It's gonna be a great program, another great program. Thank you for being here. Carry the Rotary spirit with you this week. Let's make it happen. Thank you. Thank you. Right.